So building platforms to do this at an international level, a Middle East level, and a Labour Party level?
Yes, I think Labour Party, and more broadly in the Labour Party, progressive politics. But throughout all of the thread that runs throughout all of the work that I do is this idea that you need an open-minded approach to the world today. Right. That the real difference politically is between the open-minded and the closed-minded. And so whether it's in the Middle East, where the key challenge is how do you get to religiously tolerant societies and cultural acceptance, or it's in the work we do in governance, which is all about how governments become more effective at accessing the best ideas in the world and translating them into practical effect in their countries, or in Western politics, where I think there's a risk that the centre ground gets displaced by this populism left and right, and that will in the end be to the enormous disadvantage of the generations of the future. So the thread that runs throughout my work is that idea that globalization is moving the world closer together. It's an unstoppable force. It's driven by people and not actually by governments. But the key challenge is how do you make it work for people? How do you make it deliver a more just society and not just a society that's more integrated?
How do you think that we got to this strange position, this threat to constitutional democracy here in the UK, these rises of populism, this bifurcation you've referred to? Where, in your expert view, do you think this came out of?
First of all, I think the question as to how this new populism arose is really difficult. It's a really difficult question, and I study it a lot and think about it a lot. And so I give you quite tentative preliminary thoughts, as it were. Sure. I think, first of all, social media is itself a revolutionary phenomenon.
Yes.
It creates a great wall of noise. It has resulted in people tending to go into self-conforming groups that share a particular perspective, that don't really have a conversation outside of that group, and therefore you get politics fragmenting. The conventional media itself has fragmented and become much more polarized. And then I think partly because of that, the centre ground has stopped leading. The centre ground has become managers of the status quo when people want change. Right. And so I think the centre's got to go back to being radical but still practical, forward-looking, but still making change. And
managers.
And they've got to be more than just managing the situation. They've got to be offering ways through, whether it's on challenges to do with immigration or job displacement through technology, or the fact that in a globalized world, the power of individual nations to affect their future is reduced. We've got to be providing answers, otherwise people are just going to ride the anger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blair. Thank you, sir.